Today we're going to be looking at multiplying radicals, and the best way to do that is to go back and look at an old rule, the product rule of square roots. The square root of a times b equals the square root of a times the square root of b. Now that's how you pull them apart. But we can also put them together. That is, if you look at this backwards, the square root of a times the square root of b equals the square root of ab. So if you see something like this, you multiply the coefficients first, and then you multiply the radicals. And we get negative 20 root 84. And let's pull that 84 apart. And I see a couple of twins. Let's pull those out. And we're going to be left with root 21. And so our answer is negative 40 root 21. Now let's try that with a binomial. Okay, and this is just putting together a lot of things that we've done before. We have 7 root 6 times what? Parentheses. That means we're going to multiply times everything in the parentheses. I know I've said that quite a few times, but that is a problem that keeps recurring. Not reoccurring, but it's recurring, by the way. You know, a lot of people say reoccurring. It's not. It's recurring. So that's a recurring problem. And make sure you don't fall into that trap and start, multiplying it times the first term in there. So let's multiply that times both terms. And I know you're already supposed to know this, but 7 times 3 is 21, and 6 times 10 is 60. Root 6 times root 10 is root 60. And the next one has a minus sign or a negative sign, so make sure we bring that down. And we got 7 times 5 is 35. And 6 times 15 is 90. That is to say root 6 times root 15 is root 90. And so let's pull both of these roots apart. Good, and we got twins here, and we got twins here. Let's circle those and take them out. And that's getting a little complicated, so I think rather than erasing that, I'm going to just leave it there on the board and bring it down. There you go, and we have just root 15 left here and root 10 left here. I moved that negative in front of the 3 instead of the 35. I hope you don't mind. It doesn't matter. It's just that we have one negative and the final number is going to end up being negative. And let's multiply that out. And our answer is 42 root 15 minus 105 times root 10. And let's try a binomial times a binomial. And here we go. If you look in the book, that's done in one line. But I like to multiply in rows, as you know. You can multiply using FOIL if you like, but we're going to use this example multiplying in rows. And if I'm multiplying in rows, I don't need those parentheses. Okay, let's start with 6 root 6 and multiply it times the entire top times both numbers. And I really shouldn't have to do this, but 6 times negative 2 is negative 12, and 6 times 3 is 18, that is to say root 18. And 6 times nothing is going to be 6. I shouldn't say nothing, it's 1. 6 times 1 is 6. Remember, anything that doesn't have a coefficient in front of it, the coefficient is understood to be 1. So it's 6, and we have root 6 times 5. Our root 5 is root 30, so there you go, 6 root 30. And now let's take the second number on the bottom and multiply it times the top. And 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. Root 10 times root 3 is root 30. And for the second number, 4 times a coefficient of 1 is 4. And root 10 times root 5 is root 50. And let's add that. Okay, that looks real good. And let me warn you, we kind of got lucky on the middle nomial. The middle nomial usually isn't going to be the same. That isn't we got root 30 for both of those. And normally that's not going to be the case, but we got lucky here. And since we got lucky, we're just adding them together. But normally you would have four numbers down here. That is, well, four terms. So let's start tearing these apart. And let's do this one by one because we have so many. Let's tear 50 apart first. Okay, 50 is going to be 2 times 5 times 5. Why don't we grab those twins and take them out? And that's going to be 5 times 4 with root 2 left. So 4 root 50 simplifies down to 20 root 2. Let's tear apart that 30. And we have negative 2 times a root of 2 times 3 times 5. No twins. Well, let's put it back together again. That's the first time I remember that. So if you run across something like 30 and you go, well, gosh, there's got to be twins in there somewhere. Well, not necessarily. It doesn't hurt to look and look and look a second and a third time. But some numbers just are not going to have any twins in them. And or any squares is the correct terminology. I'm telling you, if you go to college and you start talking about taking the twins out, they're going to think you're nuts. And maybe I've driven you nuts. But anyways, this is the way I talk, and it, you know, I've been teaching this for so long. And students hear this and they go, yeah, that makes sense to me. But anyways, let's tear apart that 18. And that'll be negative 12 times root 2 times 3 times 3. Let's grab those twins and take them out. And let's multiply that 3 times negative 12 and leave that 2 in the root. And we have negative 36 root 2. Okay, and that's as simplified as everything can be. By the way, as you're simplifying these things, like I said, look a second and a third and even a fourth time and make sure that these things are simplified as much as they can. You'd hate to do all this wonderful work and then get the answer wrong because you didn't simplify one of these terms. But we have, and the only like terms we have are root 2 and root 2. So the first term is root 2. And the last term is root 2. So negative 36 and 20. And that is negative 16. And that's our answer, negative 16 root 2 minus 2 root 30. And that's our last problem today. Do your homework.